And welcome back. Thank you for joining me for the part two of our hour here. Mini Ice Age Conversations, Brighteon TV Uncensored, every other Friday, 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. David Dubine here, trying to make some sense of the world's politics and how it's going to be bent to lock the planet down and stop all commerce. You see, when they stop all commerce, it'll make sense to you why the supply chains were broken and couldn't be functional anyway. So, as we were moving forward, regardless of any of this natural phenomena were to take place, they were going to have to try to explain away. And when I say them, I'm talking about banking and, media interests. We're going to have to try to explain away why the supply chains were completely dysfunctional and there was very few goods coming any longer. Now, could they admit the dollar was no longer wanted and people didn't want dollar trade and all these other countries started trading amongst themselves and America's been firewalled off? That's a hard one to sell to the Western nations. But there was going to have to be an excuse why our supply chains are non-functional and why goods are drying up. Global cataclysm, a little bit better excuse than, hey, the dollar's not longer wanted. And by the way, our enemies just quit sending us everything. Not my enemy. Political enemies have made up this, that, or the other for resources. Oh, by the way, we won't have any rare earths. What are we going to do? The excuse had to be built in, but now they can do like 6 birds in one stone. Because in the beginning of the hour there, I was talking about the celestial phenomenon, the planets with magnetic fields, and Uranus and Jupiter behaving strangely again. 2 years ago, they behaved strangely. And then we have all of the cooling temperatures and runaway ozone depletion event, which will also, they can run with this a million ways from Sunday. So the next thing that's going to be added in, so caveat number 3 or level 3 of this build in for the excuses and the global lockdown, they're going to try it. So you should get ready for that. Now, whatever you have in your nation is what you have in your nation, but it looks like this is going to be the major push for a complete and utter global lockdown of all trade, all commerce, all economy, all travel through the summer, during summer high season. So, just before the break, I was talking about this last map here, and right in the center where you can see my mouse moving, hopefully, just off South America, we have the areas of, they call it Nino areas. And here, I'm going to put the little map for you. You can see it at the bottom. So you got Nino 4. Now, remember that one's way out near Indonesia. And then you have sort of the Central Pacific area, and that's the Nino 3.4 and Nino 3. But the ones that are really pertinent to look at is going to be Nino 1 and 2, because that's right at the coast of South America. And as these water temperatures change, this is the difference between La Nina and El Nino, just depending on how warm those temperatures get. And it's all about the pressure and the convection difference between those areas over Indonesia and those areas over South America. It's really, that's the easiest way to explain it. Higher pressures, lower pressures, upwelling from deep ocean brings that water up and cools. Higher pressures push it down. More warm water stays circulated at the top and it just heats. It's a time immemorial cycle. And this drives air temperatures on our planet, a natural cycle. So here's your map on the bottom. We're going to focus on the red areas there, Nino 1 and 2, mainly for this. This is not a temperature map. This is a sea surface map. Now, when the water gets a little bit warmer, it expands ever so slightly. Hey friends, I notice I'm having more energy and mental focus when I take C60 EVO. Their C60 EVO organic olive oil is delicious. I take it on a spoon in the morning. Sometimes I also put their MCT coconut oil in my coffee. Gives my morning a good boost. My pets love C60 EVO oils too. The face and lip serums are potent products that really work. Check out the testimonials on their website. Invest in yourself, your pets, and those you love with C60 EVO because you're worth it. Feel focused, energetic, and rested today. C60evo.com/adapt2030. You're going to enjoy discounts on bundled items and monthly subscriptions.
Use the promo code ADAPT2030 at checkout to take an additional 10% off your order. That's c60evo.com/adapt2030. And now on with the video.
And here we're looking really at millimeters of expansion. So when you look on this, you're looking at about 100 millimeters, which is 4 inches, all the way down into where the greens are, which is, I mean, maybe 1/10 of an inch at best. But you're really looking at those ranges. It's nothing gargantuan. It's nothing like, wow, sea levels. It does this on a pattern itself. So rising 4 inches and shrinking to nothing. And this is how this cycle works. Now, the latest here from April 24th, again, they do this on a monthly. There should be another one popping out pretty soon here. But it is starting to show that the waters are expanding, which indicates the onset of an El Nino, and that cooler water from La Nina has finished for its cycle for now. So again, I'll put the conversion for those of you in the States that don't use metrics. 100 millimeters is 3.93 inches. Not a lot, but it's enough to get a forecast out for El Nino, that the water's changing, and for sure the Earth's temperatures are going to change. Upward air temperatures based on the Pacific water temperatures. So this is a well-known cycle to the point that traders and commodities brokers use this with regularity, and they have since what, the 1930s, to understand thunderstorm and rainfall patterns across the grain belt, mainly corn belt here in the United States. When we come into an El Nino, it's a moister, it's wetter, it's more humid. Thunderstorm activity generally takes that track across our grain belts, and we get more rainfall and we get higher crop yields. The inverse for the La Nina, which we've had 3 La Ninas in a row, and there's only one other time all the way back into the early 1800s where we've had 3 La Ninas in a row, which meant drought, 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 and drought. And then we had that mega drought across the center grow belt for wheat and corn in the United States. Well, that's going to flip and change. We're going to get more moisture coming in with this El Nino. So grain traders are already looking at this. I've been reading the boards everywhere. They're like, yeah, it's going to come in. That mega drought that's in the middle of the United States that crushed wheat production to a 100-year low in America. 100-year low in wheat production in the United States because there was so much dryness in that area, is now going to alleviate, and we're going to start to get more moisture there just based on this pattern. It's a well-known pattern for stock traders and grain traders. Obviously, I don't see how the climate people couldn't pick it up and understand it's a natural cycle, unless they were not picking it up on purpose, because they pretty much lied to you on purpose by not allowing you to know that it's a natural cycle. So what does this chart here say? U.S. Midwestern Corn Belt summer temperatures. Focused on the grains again. It's all about the food. If you can't feed a population, you don't have a civilization. So the modeling of the CMIP, which we'll look at here, SIMP 6 and SIMP 5, the model runs comparatively to what even runaway heating NOAA has shown us. The disconnect from reality is gargantuan here. So when you look at models like this, an overestimation of anywhere between what, 4 and 6x, you know there's a problem. Now, how are they going to run with this model trend here in the future? First of all, we need to know what CMIP is. It's the Coupled Model Intercomparison Project, and it's 134 climate models. So when you hear everybody around the world go, it's the models, the model runs, we know the thing, the science is settled, it's the models told us. Version 6? Really? If the science was settled way back at version 1, why do you need a version 6? If the rollout and movement to renewables is all encompassing, why didn't we do it already? Oh, it's cost prohibitive and takes too many minerals, so it means it would never be done, because if it was that easy to do, it would have been done 20 years ago. You can't tell me you need all these rare earths and we need all these things that we can't even get in our country or refine to produce it, and then we're going to pull out and close down all of our power plants to put solar panels and windmills everywhere. It would have been done already if it could have been done. Same thing here. Science is settled, but we need version 6 to refine it even more. I thought you knew everything already. Way back in the 90s. Oh, wait, don't ask. That's inconvenient. So they have 53 modeling centers around the planet here. Each country or sets of countries will take it and be like, we have the best model. But they run about 100 and let's say 130. You don't have to say 130, 430, and they run through and they get the averages and they post them. And this is what every single climate policy is based on, is its models. So how close do you think the models are to reality? I showed you the one with this one right here. It's off by orders of magnitude on what CMIP6 is running versus what NOAA, which runs hot anyway, is showing you. So let's take a look here. This is 68 model simulations. The black line is where we really are. That means that only one out of all of those was even close. One. Average sea surface temperatures. I thought they could forecast it out. I guess not. This is the kind of thing we're up against here. The science is definitely not settled. It's changing by the second. And for them to come out with a full news bevy of, look at the stars, magnetic fields of all these planets are changing, and then suddenly talking about a pothole in our own Earth's atmosphere, yet they think they have the science settled. They don't. It's not. It's settled enough to try to set policy to control humanity. That's what it's set for. It's not set for realization and real anything for our climate systems. It's a set policy to lock you down for the rest of your life and turn you back into a serf and reset the system again. No, it baffles me. Like flying, when I went up to New York City last week, I had some meetings up there, and I flew from Tennessee here, and I flew up to New York. And like 90% of the journey was just farms, national parks, farms. And just like a huge amount of open space. And then you started coming in once we got toward New Jersey, and then it was just building. I was like, wait, and they're talking about the planet being overcrowded. Why don't you just move everybody from the cities and equally space them? There would be so much extra space. Everybody would get 5 acres. I'm sure you could grow food there. I digress. Sometimes I rant. Sorry. Let's go back. No, El Nino 1 and 2. Remember I showed you that map, Nino 1 and 2, that is directly next to South America. Heading out into the Pacific, into the central regions, which are 3.4 and 3, and then way over to Indonesia, which is Nino 4. So the red is the El Nino cycle, and the blue is La Nina cycles built in since 1950. And this goes way back. You can go back into the 1850s and get these charts. I thought the most relevant, though, was what NOAA was putting out for Nino 1 and 2 in the last, say, 70 years. It's a good comparison of time. So if we look at the far edge of the chart there, they have it screaming northward already of water temperatures coming up some 2 degrees Celsius, although it's not verified yet that the El Nino has kicked in. But nonetheless, if you take the spikes in the 1980s to 90s and the 2000 spike and you start to connect these data sets, this is from Dr. Roy Spencer, this is the April temperature set from the lower troposphere, you'll start to see that it is warming slightly, a little bit, probably 0.15 degrees Celsius, excuse me. But notice what happened. The last, say since 2021, it went below the 30-year average for temperatures, below the 0 point. You never heard about that on the news. And it ran like that. How many times did it dip below the 0 point? The 30-year average, everybody's screaming, it's going to warm 2 degrees Celsius. We got to keep it below 1.5. Okay, you already did. Look at that temperature set. You're below the 0 mark. You're way already solved that problem. Come on. 3 years in a row, it dabbled around that area, staying at the 30-year averages that everybody's trying to say it's going to run away. Okay. So that now I'm going to mesh these two charts here for you, and it'll be so clear to see how this is going to be used as another step 3 of the narrative. Okay, so I put the things in the yellow circles. Top left is that bevy of cooler temperatures that run at the 0 mark on the 30-year average, and the Nino 1 and 2 La Nina. Do you see the time frame matches with global temperatures? So that blue, cooler ocean surface temperatures across the entire Pacific, and it was one of the coolest La Ninas ever recorded, and it was 3 La Ninas in a row, which is unheard of. But you can see how global temperatures responded to that. There is a very clear correlation on how El Nino and La Nina build into global temperature sets. So now using that as a basis, going, all right, well, that's very understandable. What happens when that temperature rises? Well, look at the spikes that I put the arrows there. If we go back into like 1988, 89, in the mid 90s, you can see that temperature spike runs right with that hot spike in the El Nino temperatures. But then it was just barely even above the zero baseline 30-year temperature averages. And if we look over at the 1999 spike where it says 2000 on the chart below, Nino 1 and 2, that's that same heat spike. Well, look how vast and large the El Nino was, but look at the global temperature spiked at the same time. Now, if it did it once, I could say, well, that's an interesting factoid. If it did it twice, I'd say, that's a little interesting. But when it happens every single time, you go, hey, that's a pattern. Hey, those are related. And then we got the latest ones here from, the late 2016, 17, 18 era, and that's the spike. Now, I put the question mark there because I'm really not sure. It looks like it's eclipsed that already, so there'll be a little bit delay in lag time, about a year. Maybe less, 8 months. That'll put us right into the end of the year, won't it? But as these temperatures start creeping forward throughout the summer, they're going to run with this global warming narrative once again. But please remember, it's all based on ocean temperatures. And you can see that last spike is spiking up, and it looks like it's equivalent or even eclipsed already that 2016, 17 spike, 18 spike. Now, with that knowledge, that's going to be layer 3 there that they're going to run with. Now, layer 4 is going to be heating oceans. And just luckily, this last month, in April, at the end of April, a major breakthrough, 19,000 undersea volcanoes uncovered using new imaging technologies. Okay, if we have an enormous amount of volcanoes going off on the planet's surface above the water that we can see, that there's some 47 volcanoes erupting today as we look at it around the world, what do you think's happening subsurface? You think they're going to erupt and heat the water under the ocean? Deep ocean, mid-ocean, near surface, Japan, for example. Now, I'm going to read that lot at the bottom. It says, a team of oceanographers mapped 19,000 previously unknown undersea volcanoes. Now, that is adding a huge amount into the knowledge database there. But here is what's most interesting, which could improve ocean current modeling, submarine navigation, comma, what do you think the third thing would be? Ocean temperatures. Because with this new discovery of all these volcanoes, and then, the article is quite good. I really like the Watchers. That's one of my favorite sites. Go check them out. If you're into Consolidator for, extreme weather on the planet, that's what they do. And really great site. I like to look at it. And within the article, they actually linked out to the peer-reviewed research, global distribution and morphology of small seamounts. And I'm one of those guys who clicks those links every time. This is off AGU. And once it comes from AGU Earth Sciences, yeah, that's a goodie. It's open to the public. You don't have to pay for it. You can just click and go on the PDF. So look at all the seamounts. What they did is they went down the tectonic plate areas on either side and just started mapping out all the different volcanoes and seamounts that are there. So this has not doubled or tripled the amount of knowledge that we have of seamount locations under the, under the oceans. This is something like 10 times more. So now, do you think the global warming crowd could start to add this into their models now that they have 19,000 more data points for global heating and ocean heating? Oh no, it can't. The Guardian, right on top of it. The fish have been breaching for months now. New Zealand's marine heat waves, a warning to the world. What do you mean? That right there? That is north and west of New Zealand. All those seamounts that have just been discovered that are erupting nonstop under the ocean. You mean that has nothing to do with the heating oceans around New Zealand? I didn't think so. It's you and your SUV. Bro, quit driving it. Walk, take a camel, why don't you ride a mule up to Virginia or something? That's kind of the messaging. Oh wait, you're not going to be allowed to travel. Sorry, I wanted to even think about it. You're going to have to eat sawdust. Something like this. And then AFP, which is Associated Free Press, AP, dangerous slowing of Antarctic Ocean circulation or sooner than expected. slowing down by 40% by 2050, as models suggest the overturning circulation. I just showed you how off their models are. It's staggering that they can still get away with these lies and these half-truths to push agendas. Staggering, truly is. So they're saying, well, the ice is going to all melt and run away, and it's going to pour into the oceans and it's going to disrupt circulation. Okay. And then I read it, you know, if you get down to the bottom, it says read more, and there's other nuggets down there for your mind. Recorded ocean temperatures, or I should say record ocean temperatures, put Earth in uncharted territory. Well, I showed you the maps where the ocean, excuse me, the ocean temperatures weren't really running away. They were blue. Remember that chart in the beginning of the hour there? A melting Antarctic sea ice predicted to cause a rapid slowdown in the Earth. Pure fiction from The Guardian. Might as well be you know, put into the children's stories, The Guardian. It's pure fiction. Look at that. That's not ocean runaway heating. What? Most of it's blue. Half the world's oceans are below normal temperature. Guardian, I'm disappointed. You know how a parent might say to their child if they do something, they're like, oh, I'm just disappointed in you. I really am. That's just disappointing journalism. Seriously, disappointing. Copernicus, oh, this is off Windy that I pulled this one just before the show to try to validate that, yes, that blue around Antarctica, that is below freezing. That is going into ice formation a month early for this Arctic or Antarctic sea ice. But these runaway heating oceans, according to The Guardian, you're looking at it. And again, this is staggering. This is the temperatures down there. And if you look over, you know, if you look directly below Madagascar and South Africa, you come into that sort of brownish, it's not even pink anymore. These temperatures are so low, they're off the chart. Windy doesn't have a low enough figure for this in their charts. Their charts peg at, you know, 5 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. These temperatures here are well into the 40 Fahrenheit below zero. But this earlier in the year, that's, again, it's unheard of, unprecedented. And they haven't even readjusted their charts for that kind of cold yet. That's how rare it is in these model runs. And when I'm just talking about dailies here for Windy, for example, which is one of the best ones on the planet, windy.com, and you can go do your own research. I encourage you to do so. But look how the narrative's going to build into super scare factor, everything's your fault, global warming's running, all these things are happening, natural, blah, 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 and you know we need to lock the planet down. This is what's coming this summer. So get out the beach chair, break out the umbrellas, martinis when you watch this stuff. Bye for now. See you next time.